Hi, it's the Rawesome Vegan Gal here, and I have another important healthy living topic today. And I'm actually calling this, Where Do You Get Your Blank From? I'm talking about nutrients. So this one is, where do you get your iron from? Now, before I did do a series on vitamins and minerals, but I want to get more specific and really talk to you about it as a vegan, because a lot of people might have issues with anemia, or even as non-vegans don't know where to get their iron from that's actually more available for the body to use. I call it bioavailable. It's not my word, but meaning the body is able to readily use it right away and absorb it. Now, why is iron important? Iron is important because if you have a deficiency, especially in infants, can result in impaired learning and ability. I mentioned this before, and behavioral problems. It's also affecting the immune system and causes weakness and fatigue. Because when you're anemic, when you don't have iron, iron is an important mineral, yeah, you feel tired. And don't forget, to aid in absorption of iron, you always want to eat foods rich in vitamin C at the same time that you eat the foods containing the iron. And just so you know, the tannin in non-herbal tea can hinder absorption of iron, so you wouldn't want to have those at the same time. Now, I did mention before some, foods that were rich in iron, but I want to go through them again more in detail, because I want to just show you that I know how to get the iron in my body because I've had it tested. A lot of people rely on dried fruits. I'm not a big dried fruit fan. That's a tongue twister. I'm not a big dried fruit fan, because dried fruit is very concentrated sugar. It's better to get it from the fresh fruit. So like fresh fruit that's high in iron, I know, are grapes. Grapes are really high in iron. I don't remember what else this list talked about as far as fruit. Let's see, what did it say here? Cherries, dates, figs, kiwi. I'm not sure if those are persimmons. It says watermelon, I know, is high in iron. So watermelon is definitely a great option for iron. And don't forget, you absorb that readily. So that's important to know. But I want to talk about some other foods. So backtracking a little, I actually recently donated some blood for research. And before you donate, since it's quite a significant amount, and it's a certain type of procedure where they take out some of the cells and they return the others, it's called leukapheresis. So, and it's like a 3-hour procedure. So your iron levels have to be really good, and even for women, it needs to be, when they test the hemoglobin, they take a little blood from your finger, usually the middle finger, because it's what they say the juiciest, and they take a little blood and they spit it in this little machine, and it tells them your hemoglobin. I don't know what type of, if it's milligrams, or I don't know what the thing is, but it needs to be at least, they said 12.5 for women to do this. I think it could be a little lower for other donations, but for this specific thing. So, and then for men, it's usually much higher. So when I did it, my results were 14.5, which is really high for a woman and for a vegan. So it's just showing you that what I'm doing is working. Otherwise, it wouldn't be possible that I'd have those numbers. And that's the number that usually a man has in their upper level. So that's really good. So let's talk about the foods that I'm using that I'm getting these results from. So let's first talk about seaweeds. Seaweeds are very high in minerals and very concentrated, so you don't need large amounts. So one of the products that I really love, and what I'll probably do is I'll have some links to some of these, because some of their products that I reviewed and some of them are just products that I use, but I'll list the ones that I'm using that I know I'm seeing results from. So this is Dulse Powder, and Dulse Powder, if you look on packages when you buy products, if you look on the nutrition facts, you'll see, if they have any of these vitamins or minerals. So for Dulse Powder, it says for a 1/4 ounce, that's not a lot, 7 grams, it has 12% iron. That is a lot of iron for a 1/4 ounce. That's a very small amount. So if you sprinkle that on your salad, you're getting 12% iron right there. Okay, so that's one really good source. I'm not sure that other seaweeds have as high. I think kelp powder has a pretty good amount of iron as well. I'm just not sure the amount. Okay, then next let's talk about some seeds. Specifically, we're going to talk about, as I get my products here to show you, Excuse me for just a moment. So seeds in particular. So some things you may be surprised about that have a lot of iron. So one of them is, this is from Foods Alive. This is their black sesame seeds. And black sesame seeds are have 15% iron in 2 tablespoons. That's very little. What I do actually is I take the whole seeds and I grind them up. I don't make them wet. Dry grind them, and then use them as a powder and sprinkle them on my salad or stew or whatever you're going to make. So you're getting 15% iron in only 2 tablespoons. Plus it has chock full of other vitamins and minerals, you know, magnesium, copper, manganese, other ones. It has calcium, a lot of calcium in black sesame seeds. So black sesame seeds is definitely a great option, so look into that. Some other seeds are, and I have the packages, they're already empty, but this is from Go Raw. They have all raw organic snacks and stuff like that, all sprouted, vegan. So a couple of products that they have that are really good and high in iron are, they have sprouted watermelon seeds. Now these are absolutely fantastic. I love these. I could just eat these like crazy. They are very high in iron. For only 1 ounce of these, and definitely there's 10 ounces in a bag, I could probably almost eat the whole bag over a day, I'd say. So you're getting 15% iron in only 1 ounce. That's very little amount and a very good amount of iron. And it's also high in protein too, the seeds. So that's something to be aware of. So these are great. I love these. The other product from them that's really good in iron is their seed mixes. This is actually their simple seed mix. It's got sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds. And for a 1/4 cup, it has 10% iron, which is actually really good too. And I know pumpkin seeds are high in iron. It's also higher in other minerals, copper, manganese, etc., phosphorus, magnesium. So that's something to look into. So staying with the pumpkin seeds, actually pumpkin seed butter. And this is from a company called Dulse, and I reviewed them on my channel before, but I'll have a link to their site. Dulse makes a sprouted pumpkin seed butter. They also make a sunflower seed butter, but their pumpkin seed butter has 20% iron. That's a lot. And only 2 tablespoons. And you could just have 2 tablespoons on something you're going to eat, a cracker, or on your lettuce, or on a wrap. So 20% iron in pumpkin seed butter. That's a lot. That's really good. Now coming to some kind of grain products, but they're actually pseudo grains. They're not true grains. Is quinoa. Quinoa is great. It's a non-glutinous, it's non-GMO, gluten-free, and it's like I say, it's a pseudo grain. It's not a true grain, and it's very high in protein too, and it's got all the amino acids. But in a 1/4 cup of this, and when they say 1/4 cup, they're not saying cooked, they're saying dry. So when you take a 1/4 cup of this, it expands. So a 1/4 cup of this has 10% iron. So if you made a cup of this, you'd have 40% iron, and then plus when that cooks out, it makes about let's see, I think it makes about 3 cups when you cook it. Doesn't say on here, but I'm pretty sure 1 cup makes like about 3 cups. So that's a really good source. And quinoa is great. It's such a light and nutritious and very easy to digest food. So you may want to incorporate that and put it in a stew or a soup, or you know, a pudding, anything you like. So this is another really great one. This is called amaranth. Amaranth is a grain of Mexico, but again, amaranth is actually not a true grain. It's actually a seed, and it's really good product. It's a tiny grain. It says it's back from thousands of years ago. A grain of the Aztecs, and this one has in only a 1/4 cup dry of this, and they're very, very small grains. I'll bring it close to the camera so you can see how tiny. The grains are super, super tiny. So this is from Bob's Red Mill. They sell really good products that are organic and gluten-free, etc. They have a lot of different really good products. So just so you know, in a 1/4 cup of this dry, there is 20% iron. That is a good lot of it. Plus it has B6, magnesium in high amounts, folate and zinc, so that's really good. But 20% iron, and it's also got protein and some fat. So what I do with this, since it's such a tiny grain, you can mix it with other grains. Like I mix it with quinoa, I've also mixed it with millet, mix it with buckwheat. You can, and those also have iron, but not as high. I'm trying to stay with the foods that have really high amounts of iron. And you know, you can put this in a stew. When I do this in a stew, I actually start cooking the other vegetables first and then add this in as it's cooking, because then it kind of thickens up. It gets really gooey, but it's not glutinous. It just gets sticky. That's just the nature of it. It's a sticky type of product, and it's really yummy. So I would definitely try that. A few other things we're going to talk about. We're going to also talk about beans. People don't know that beans are actually really high in iron. Now, I don't buy anything in bulk anymore. I used to buy bulk products, but the reason I don't buy them is because of cross-contamination with wheat or gluten or soy or things in the fields. I don't want to take a chance. So when I buy products, like I showed you that amaranth, I can buy that in bulk, but I buy it like that so I know it's gluten-free. I know that, you know, that it's much safer. You are going to be spending a little more, but for me that's more important because I don't want to deal with gluten at all. So the company that I like that sells their beans, and they make them the way they're supposed to be made, they cook them, of course they're cooked, is Eden Organic. So that's Eden, and this is their black beans, but all their beans have the same amount of iron in them. So I think there's a few that might be a little different, but so for a half a cup, and there's about 3.5 servings in this, it's a 15-ounce container. So for a half a cup of beans, there's 10% iron. That's a lot. So if you ate this whole container, which I could if I sometimes, if I really need more protein, so that means 3.5 servings. So you're getting 35% iron. That's a lot in just this one little can. And so yeah, they make really good products, and all their containers are BPA free, just so you know. There's no BPA lining in their cans, and they are kosher and really high quality. Oh, so how do they make them? That's different than other companies. Other companies do sell beans that are cooked, but they don't do them right. So how do they do them is they cook them with kombu. Kombu is a seaweed, also another seaweed, like I mentioned before, the Dulse powder. Dulse also comes in whole form and in flake form. But kombu helps the body digest. Beans are hard to digest, so they have to be soaked first overnight and then cooked properly. And when they're cooked with kombu, kombu has a means to help break down the beans to a more readily available, digestible form. So they're the only company that's doing it. There's no other company. Well, they do sell kombu too, but they're doing it the right way, whereas other companies don't do that. And these are also no salt added. So I like that, because let's say you want to season them yourself and you don't want salt, you want kelp, you want other spices, so that's another way to go. So this can go in a stew as well with all your different vegetables, and then some greens at the end, and we'll talk about greens in a moment. So a couple other products that I found that are high in iron, and this happens to be it's actually a vitamin C powder called Camu Camu. It's a superfruit, but it actually has 10% iron in 1 teaspoon. It's like I say, it's high in mega vitamin C, more than an orange, but yet it has 10% iron in it. Yeah, it's like in 1 teaspoon of this, it has 1,180% vitamin C. So 1 teaspoon. But that's pretty good for iron, that 10% in 1 teaspoon of this. So this Camu powder, it's from a company called Navitas Naturals, which I reviewed too, but I'll have a link for them. So on below the video, I should say. But that's pretty amazing that it has that much in that little amount, because it's very concentrated as a powder. And it doesn't have any kind of nice flavor particularly. So what I do with these kind of things like powders and stuff is I'll put it in a drink. Another thing that's really good iron source I didn't mention is hemp protein and hemp seeds. They have I think it's between 8 and 10% or something like that, or 15, I forget how much, but it's in a good range. So that's another thing to consider. You can make yourself like a big drink with all different products, or a smoothie, and I'll tell you about the smoothie that I made in just a minute. So another product that's actually really good and high in iron is organic coconut flour. And you might not think of using coconut flour other than for baking, but I actually put it in my smoothies. I sprinkle it on my fruit. I do it in some desserts too. So this has in 2 tablespoons of organic coconut flour. And this is from a company called Let's Do Organic. This is the the bag it comes in, and it is kosher too. So there is 10% iron in 2 tablespoons. That's a lot too. So just so you know, and it is gluten-free as well. So that's another really good option. And finally, we're going to talk about some greens. Greens are very high in minerals and iron, especially all your leafy dark greens, not light greens, like your romaine, your green leaf, your red leaf, your collard greens, your spinach, your kale. All those are really chock full rich in iron, because the darker they are, the more minerals they have. They're getting the chlorophyll from the sun, and that's what we're getting. We're getting all those wonderful nutrients. So this happens to be just an empty container, because I did use it all up. And actually, this is a great container too if you compost, and you don't have a compost container, and you wanted to, and you don't maybe have a fridge to put it in. This is really good because it closes up really good if you get any of these containers from the stores. When you buy if you buy spinach in a package, then you could just reuse this, and then you don't have to refrigerate it because it's in a closed container and it seals really good. So, so this is just a pound. I bought of baby spinach. It's actually already, like triple washed and kosher certified, which is important. So, this is really amazing too. So this in a 3-ounce serving, which is about 2 cups, which for baby spinach, you can eat that in a second. 2 cups is nothing. And this has about 5 servings. So it has 15% iron. It also has a huge amount of vitamin A, 160, and vitamin C, 40%. Also 8% calcium, so that's really good. So it has 15% iron in only 2 cups. So if you ate this whole package, just 5 servings, you'd get, 75% iron in this whole container of spinach. That's pretty good. So what I did with this, because like I said, whenever I donate blood for research, what I do is I make sure that my iron levels, I keep kind of bumping them up. And I don't start like the day before. I start quite a few days before, so I make sure I'm eating foods continually and also hydrating. Eating foods continually that have good sources of iron, like all the ones I mentioned. So what I did with this, that was just so good. It tasted like chocolate pudding practically, and I had no chocolate in it. I took this whole container, and I took a whole bunch of different oranges that were already cut up. Like, I don't know how many, but quite a bit. And put them in, and frozen blueberries, a package of frozen blueberries. And I get it, and it's from this company called Bush Farms, I believe. It's in a paper packaging. I think Whole Foods sells them. Not all stores sell them. They're really good. And I put that all in together, no water, and then I blended that. I got out of that blending, that smoothie, with 60 ounces altogether. That's a lot. 8 times, I don't know how many cups that is, but that's a lot. So I blended that all up, and it tasted so amazing. I could have probably had the whole thing in one shot, but I saved it to have for when I went to give my donation, so that afterwards, because when you're done, if you donate blood afterwards, you want to make sure you start building up your iron again. And I also drank coconut water, which gives you the electrolytes, which is very important. So that's what I did. I made that as a smoothie, and it was so yummy. And because I put the frozen blueberries, it turned this really rich, dark color. And it's funny because when I was waiting at the bus, someone saw me drinking and asked what it was I was drinking. So they saw it was so green, they thought it was a powder, and I said, no, it was spinach and blueberries. And so the blueberries gives it that dark color, but it had this like chocolate pudding type flavor. And then the last bit of it that I had actually got really thick, so it was more like a pudding. So it's like a blueberry pudding, I could call it, blueberry spinach pudding. It was really good. So that's definitely something you want to consider. But what I just want to mention too is about greens. Rotate your greens too. That's very important. That your body, you don't want to build up any kind of reaction, because what happens with greens is in nature when they propagate, they have little bits of poison on their leaves because they don't want you to overeat it. If you overeat it, you might start getting a weird taste in your mouth or something like that. So me personally, what I do is I rotate my greens. Like I had spinach like yesterday, like this whole thing of spinach, in the smoothies. And then like another day I'll have lettuce, and another day I'll have collard, and another day I'll have bok choy. But you don't have to rotate so many days out, but there's enough to do that. And anyway, it's important to get more variety of greens than eating the same ones over, because it's more interesting too for yourself, not to be bored. So I rotate, as many days out as you want. It could be, I do at least 3 days, 2 or at least a minimum 2 to 3 days, more 3 days. So, but there's so many options. You know, you'll never run out. Kale, collard, bok choy, spinach, red leaf, green leaf, romaine. Those are all different. Even iceberg I eat because it has some nutrients in it. And it's not a dark green, but that's still, you know, arugula could be one, but that's a little spicier. So, and I don't buy the lettuce mixes for that reason, because I stay with like one each day. Unless I know, like, let's say I get a lettuce mix container, then I won't eat lettuce for a few days. I'll eat other things. So that's just how I do it because of that reason that I mentioned. So I hope this information will help you, because I know people are always looking for places where they can get their iron. They don't have enough iron stores. They feel weak if they give a little bit of blood. They're like, you know, feel tired. So you want to keep up your iron levels, because that's important for our bodies. It's important for our immune system. So that's something that I'm really good at doing, as you can tell, because my numbers show that. I wouldn't be able to have those type of results if I wasn't absorbing the iron. So apparently I'm doing it right. So I hope that this helps you. And thank you for watching. It's the Rawesome Vegan Gal.